Many people in my first architecture school, and certainly in there, could draw better than me. They could draw dogs and trees and things. I was determined to communicate ideas. I was determined to somehow work at it. And I found tricks by which, even if you were not a natural drawer of trees, you could get it across. And then I started to work more and more on what I call tricks of the trade until you do have a vocabulary that can communicate. And I think that the battle with the line, the battle to communicate something that turns a corner and changes as it goes upwards, the battle with dealing with the staircase, the battle with dealing with the tree filtering the view of something, the battle with something that's carved or in shadow or has form, meant that I had to sweat over this stuff. And in the process, you have time to think. The problem I see with the computer is not that it can't do wonderful things, and in fact our Graz building would have been impossible without the computer. Not conceptually impossible, not even formally impossible, but just in terms of time and money. Could have never got, a lot of archigram ideas would have been faster and more easily buildable if the computer developed so that you could start, cutting things and so on. So from that point of view, I think it's amazing. And there are friends of mine at the Bartlett now who are doing such extraordinary things with computers. They're using artificial intelligence to create the forms. They're using kind of surfaces that you can hardly even imagine, layering material. I mean, they're marvelous things that they can do, so I'm not knocking it. But I think the kind of boring architecture school that uses the computer to get kids who've only half thought about things to do simple tricks is very dangerous, because what you get is somebody who still doesn't really have an architectural sensibility, doesn't really understand why something turns a corner or forms itself in space. But by dig, they can get it to look like it does. And then you say, how far is that? You go, How tall is the person in it? What is it doing behind there? Because it's very easy. So I think everything is up for grabs. What happens at the really progressive schools, and I can mention the Bartlett, is that the first year students still are given drawing boards and Maylines and draw and have life drawing, and they go and draw and they make models of things with their hands, not just with them. And it's a school which has 20 robots, so it doesn't need to, it doesn't avoiding it. It just is, you can do things. When I'm doing a tutorial or explaining a project, often I have one of these in my hand, and I scribble ideas, and I think the thing of the student or the friend or client, whatever it might be, watching you sees the thought process as it develops. Of course, the other thing is the computer does things correctly. And I think it's very important in architecture to also have the incorrect. In the exhibition, there are these drawings which are speculating upon the relationship between natural vegetation and tectonic form. The computer will want to push you in one direction or the other. It will say, what is the consistency of what you're drawing? Because it needs that information in order to respond consistently. And you'll say, no, it's inconsistency, and I'm even not going to tell you before it suddenly comes. The hand will suddenly do that from a whim or the nerve ending or whatever. I'm sure they can develop a computer that can follow you in that way. And I have friends who claim that that's what they do now, that they are literally inventing and overriding pieces of program constantly. I think drawing is more than a tool, it is the extension of one's head. And it is its waywardness as well as its accuracy of depiction that is important. And I think even if you know somebody's mannerisms or style, and you watch how different drawings take on the mood of the day or the response. Well, some things you do, and it includes things in the exhibition here, I'm on it. Bits where you're a bit lazy, it's late at night, and you choose to do a repetitive part, because then you don't have to think. Early in the morning, I'm an early in the morning person. It's to do the spontaneity also, I think. I'm a great believer in the spontaneous as well as the preconsidered, because I think if you have a lot, you walk around carrying a lot of ideas in your head. I'm still working on tomorrow's lecture, even though I've officially done it, but I'm still working on it in my head. And I will feed something in that I see today or now or whatever. And that gives it the spontaneity is part of the ongoing picture. The thing doesn't stop. So that in a funny way, of course, an exhibition is always a dead thing, because it was the ideas frozen at the time that they were drawn. Whereas the idea may still be continuing, which is why I think it's important in this exhibition that there are some drawings which lead to other drawings, which lead to other drawings, even though in time they're separated by 20, 30 years, but even the fairly unintelligent observer will be able to see, that's that thing again. Now, that may be laziness, it may be because I can't think of anything else, it may be because one's still running the idea over and over, and it leads to something. The big green drawing, which I think is the key drawing, was already done at a period when I had started building quite large buildings. And that's different, because a lot of the stuff in the show was before I'd really built very much or built anything. That is now in another role, because I'm beginning to know the practical implications of doing a curved piece of glass, or inserting something into a damp patch, or dragging something over something else. You see the results, you see the wood change colour and so on and so on. But that gives it also, I think, an additional power, because one is actually incorporating, consciously or subconsciously, feedback. As a teacher, I always regarded myself as a designer first, who somehow got into teaching. I have 3 professorships, so I guess I have to admit that maybe I became a pro and most of my income came from. I regarded my drawing as cartoons in order to discuss an idea which then could be developed as a building. I regard the buildings as only one part of a cycle of placing ideas. Last week I showed an installation we did in Los Angeles, which had developed out of an abstracted drawing. We built the installation, and after the installation I redrew the installation and then drew more drawing again, so that there was a kind of loop. You have the ideas, you formulate it, having formulated, you pick it out and put it back into the drawing, so that the ideas seem to be constantly evolving. I'd like to do that more. Sometimes I'm tempted, but there's never time to take a built project and then project it into its later stages, or double height, or change the color, or change the form, or make the form mutate. In other words, take something that's actually there, do that with it, as I used to do with drawings.